So since I have time today, I'm going to do an informative video which is way belated. I had some subscribers ask me a little bit about, like, hey, what do you do for conditioning? What do you recommend for conditioning? Um, and so I'm going to talk about that today, what my most favorite piece of cardio equipment is. And that happens to be the drag sled. And there's several reasons why I like it, but the first one is there's virtually no risk of an overuse injury by using this. And it's very low impact on your joints. It doesn't affect your ankles or your knees very much at all. Another reason I like it is it's very versatile. You can use it for steady state conditioning, which when I do steady state, I drag it all the way to the end of the driveway, and then I come back and I do laps back and forth, and I alternate between dragging the sled backwards and forwards. When I drag the sled backwards, walk backwards with it, it works more on my quads. When I, walk forward with it, it works more on my hamstrings and glutes. You can also use it for high intensity interval training several different ways. You can load it up heavy, drag it for a shorter distance, have a rest ratio on your timer, and then drag it back with a lot of heavy weight. Or you can also load it up with a very light weight and focus on sprints. Do high intensity sprints with it. Same concept with that work to rest ratio on a timer. Another thing, what I like to do, my favorite attachment for it is this belt. I have this construction belt, and that allows me to alternate between forward and backward laps. Some people like the harness. I'm not a huge fan of that. I feel like it puts too much stress on my shoulders. And sometimes I also like to change the surface too. Like I'll drag it across the grass, a little bit harder over there, and gives it a little bit of a different stimulus. So there's a lot of variety. And I have this toe strap on here too. I can also take this off the belt and I can drag it with my hands backwards and forwards above my head. I can do little pressing movements for the upper body as well. And this is one of my favorite pieces of conditioning equipment because of that versatility that it allows you, and the fact that it doesn't beat up your joints, and that you have so many different things that you can structure with. And it's specific to, it helps you with lifting too, because you work a lot of the muscles that you work doing the lifting. Has huge emphasis on the lower body. And another thing too is the reason why I haven't put so many videos together talking about cardio that much, or giving you guys more of a rundown on things, is because I'm not a huge cardio bunny. I mean, yeah, I have pretty healthy heart and lungs, good work capacity, but I don't, I'm not like a huge cardio bunny. I mean, I do 3 to 4 cardio sessions a week usually. Ideally, what it looks like in the perfect world is, I usually do about 2 to 3 sessions of steady state a week, and then 1 session a hit, and then the next week I'll do usually 2 sessions of steady state and 2 sessions of high intensity interval training, and I'll kind of go back and forth between the two. But like I said, I'm not a huge cardio bunny. I'm not a huge fan of seeing these people that, they're just average people, mind you. And let me bear this in mind. Let me put this more into condensed terms. I've been to spin classes, and I've seen people that go to spin classes 4 to 6 days a week. They're biking an hour, but they're not really seeing any changes in body composition. Usually they're not lifting, they're not watching their diet, so they don't really, get very lean or look like they work out, so to speak. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with like specificity either. Like, I mean, if you want to be a marathon runner or something like that, same kind of concept. A lot of them look, kind of fat, skinny. They're not like fat, like, the average, sedentary obese person, but, they don't have a, dense musculature. So I'm a fan of doing your cardio every week for your heart health, but not going overboard or too crazy all the time, because there's some negative effects of doing that, in my opinion, especially if you're somebody that lifts and that, and you already have a good muscle base in that, and let's say you're trying to cut back on a little bit of weight, maybe cut back on the calories that you eat, maybe cut back 150 calories each day, maybe not go for that cheap meal at a restaurant with your friends, family, or coworkers, stuff like that, just small stuff that usually, but I'll show you like I'm using an empty sled and I'm only going to drag it halfway here to show you what I like to do most of my sessions with it. Most of my sessions with it are steady state, and then some I throw in a little bit of hit here and there for variety with it. But it's not the only piece of cardio equipment I use. I use a lot of different things, but I like to be outside for most of the conditioning that I do. But for my most basic form of steady state that I do the most, I do something like this. I'll drag it backwards and really lift my quads. I'll go all the way to the hamstring drive. And then I'll shift it around. And then I'll walk forward with it. Of course, I'll go a little bit quicker and all that jazz. And I'll work a little bit more on my, glutes and hams. But like I said, this is one of my favorite pieces of conditioning equipment. That's very specific, towards lifting. And I feel like actually it's a piece of equipment that people are more inclined to see results on versus spending hours on a spin bike. So if I were to pick one piece of cardio equipment I could use for the rest of my entire life, it would be the drag sled, because of the versatility, the carryover that it has towards lifting, and also I didn't mention this. It's very economical. You can buy one of these for like $74 on Titan Fitness. Get this toe strap and a belt. You got endless opportunities of things you can do with it. So it's definitely a must. So I would say, if I could go, like I said, with one piece, it would definitely be the drag sled. I know this video is belated, but this is my favorite piece of cardio equipment. So, peace out.